If you could yank Mark Twain out of the 19th century, sit him down in front of a glowing screen, and show him the internet, he would likely stroke his magnificent mustache, take a long drag from a cigar, and say something profoundly witty. After he was done being flabbergasted by the sheer existence of cat videos, of course. My guess is he'd land on one of his greatest hits. If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. And honestly, has any observation aged better? It's the intellectual equivalent of a fine wine, or perhaps more accurately, a bottle of whiskey that just gets more painfully relevant with every passing year. It's a perfect, biting summary of a problem we think is new, but really isn't. Back in Twain's day, the Gilded Age, newspapers were the internet. They were the primary source of everything. News, gossip, advertisements for questionable health tonics, you name it. And they were just as prone to, shall we say, stretching the truth as a modern-day influencer hawking diet teas. Publishers were titans with massive egos and even bigger political agendas. They understood that a headline about a disaster sold more papers than a story about a successful crop yield. Sensationalism wasn't an unfortunate byproduct, it was the business model. Twain saw firsthand how facts could be bent, twisted, and sometimes outright invented to serve a narrative, sell more copies, or settle a score. He wasn't just being cynical, he was being a realist. Even then, the choice was a grim one. You could either live in a blissful bubble of ignorance, completely unaware of the world's happenings, or you could dive into the ink-stained pages and risk having your head filled with carefully crafted nonsense. It was a choice between being in the dark or being led astray by a flickering, unreliable lantern. Twain's quote wasn't just a clever jab, it was a diagnosis of the information landscape of his time. He recognized that the people delivering the truth were fallible, biased human beings with mortgages to pay and axes to grind. This fundamental conflict between the noble pursuit of truth and the grubby reality of commerce has always been with us. So, when we wring our hands today about fake news, it's worth remembering that the old man with the white suit saw it coming a century and a half ago. The core dilemma remains identical. Do you unplug entirely and become a modern-day hermit, blissfully unaware of global pandemics or which celebrity just got a questionable tattoo? Or do you plug in and subject yourself to an endless fire hose of information, where discerning fact from fiction feels like trying to find a single honest man in Congress? Twain's observation is the ghost of information past, rattling its chains to remind us that our modern panic is just a new chapter in a very, very old book. Now, let's take Twain's newspaper problem and put it on steroids. Then give those steroids another dose of steroids. And then, for good measure, strap the whole thing to a rocket powered by outrage and conspiracy theories. Welcome to the internet. The fundamental issue Twain identified, the unreliability of information sources, hasn't just gotten worse, it has metastasized. Back then, a piece of misinformation traveled at the speed of a printing press and a delivery boy on a bicycle. Today, a lie can circumnavigate the globe, be translated into 50 languages, and be liked by your aunt in Florida before the truth has even managed to put its pants on. The scale and speed are simply breathtaking. Social media platforms, in their infinite wisdom, have created the most efficient delivery system for falsehoods in human history. They are digital wildfires. A single spark of nonsense, say, a ridiculous claim that eating a specific brand of breakfast cereal cures baldness, can be shared by a few people, then a few hundred, then thousands. The algorithm, which is basically a soulless digital paperboy that only cares about what's popular, sees this engagement and thinks, wow, people really care about this cereal. So it pushes the story into even more feeds, amplifying the lie until it becomes a roaring inferno of public discourse. What's truly new here is the democratization of misinformation. In Twain's era, you had to own a printing press to spread a lie on a mass scale. It took capital, effort, and a certain level of commitment. Today, literally anyone with a smartphone and a grudge can become a one-person propaganda machine. You don't need facts, you don't need sources, you just need a compelling story and an internet connection. The barrier to entry for polluting the information ecosystem has dropped to zero. This means the sheer volume of junk we have to sift through has grown exponentially, making the task of being an informed citizen not just difficult, but utterly exhausting. And let's be honest, the character of the misinformation has gotten weirder. Twain worried about newspapers exaggerating war reports or smearing political candidates. We have to deal with people who genuinely believe the earth is flat, that lizard people run the government, and that a certain pizza restaurant is the headquarters for a global cabal. The absurdity is dialed up to 11. While Twain was misinformed, we are often disinformed, intentionally fed false narratives designed to confuse, divide, and disrupt. It's the same old tune, just played at a deafening volume with a much more chaotic and frankly unhinged orchestra. So why does this stuff work so well? Why are we so susceptible to falling for stories that a 5-year-old with a healthy dose of skepticism might question? Well, the unfortunate truth is that our brains are, to put it mildly, flawed. They are not precision instruments for discerning objective reality. They are more like story processing machines that are easily hacked. And misinformation is the ultimate brain hack. It's designed, whether intentionally or not, to exploit the very bugs in our cognitive software. Our brains are, in many ways, the perfect audience for a well-told lie, especially one that makes us feel good. First, we are wired for stories. For millennia, that's how we passed down knowledge and made sense of the world. A simple, clear narrative with a hero, a villain, and a straightforward moral is infinitely more appealing than a dense, 50-page academic paper filled with nuance, caveats, and statistical models. Misinformation almost always comes packaged as a tidy, compelling story. This secret group is causing all your problems is a much simpler and more satisfying narrative than your problems are the result of a complex interplay of socio-economic factors, historical trends, and policy decisions. Our brains crave the simple story and will choose it over the complicated truth almost every time. Second, our brains run on emotion. We think we're rational beings, calmly weighing evidence, but most of the time, we're just reacting emotionally and then using logic to justify how we feel. Misinformation is the master of emotional manipulation. It doesn't try to appeal to your prefrontal cortex. It goes straight for the amygdala. It triggers fear, anger, disgust, or even a sense of belonging and validation. A headline designed to make you furious will get far more clicks and shares than one designed to make you thoughtfully consider a topic. Once that emotional hook is set, our ability to think critically goes right out the window. Finally, we are cognitive misers. Thinking is hard work. It burns calories. Our brains are inherently lazy and prefer to take mental shortcuts whenever possible. This is called cognitive overload. When we're bombarded with thousands of pieces of information a day, we don't have the time or energy to deeply investigate every single one. So, we rely on heuristics. Does this confirm what I already believe? Did a friend I trust share it? Does it feel true? Misinformation thrives on these shortcuts. It offers a sense of certainty in a confusing world, and our overloaded brains gratefully accept it because the alternative, admitting we don't know and doing the hard work to find out, is just too exhausting. If you've ever wondered why your social media feed feels like a constant raging dumpster fire, there's actually a very simple reason. It's profitable. This isn't an accident. It's a business strategy. The modern digital economy is, well, largely built on what's called the attention economy. Your eyeballs, your clicks, your time, that's the product being sold to advertisers. And the single most effective way to capture and hold your attention is to make you angry. Outrage is the currency of the digital realm, and honestly, business is booming. This is the economic engine that Mark Twain could have only dreamed of in his most cynical nightmares. Think about it from the platform's perspective for a second. Their goal is to maximize engagement. That's the metric that matters. They need you to scroll, to click, to comment, to share. A calm, nuanced, and factually accurate report on agricultural policy might get a few polite nods. But a story, true or not, about a politician doing something scandalous, or a rival group threatening your way of life, that's gold. It generates furious comments, heated debates, and thousands of shares from people saying, "Can you believe this?" The algorithm doesn't know truth from fiction, it only knows engagement. It sees the outrage, and it serves up more of the same. This creates a vicious cycle. Content creators, from major news organizations to, basement-dwelling YouTubers, learn very quickly what gets rewarded. They see that extreme emotional and divisive content performs better. So they produce more of it, headlines become more shocking, stories become more one-sided, and nuance is thrown out the window because it's simply not profitable. Truth becomes a secondary concern, if it's a concern at all. The primary goal is to provoke a reaction, any reaction, because reactions are monetizable. Your fury is literally their fortune. It's a structural incentive for misinformation. This is a profound perversion of the purpose of journalism and information sharing. The goal should be to inform, to enlighten, to create a shared understanding of reality so we can make better decisions as a society. Instead, the system is designed to fracture us, to amplify our worst impulses, and to keep us in a constant state of agitation because that's where the money is. Twain was worried about biased newspaper barons. Today, the biased baron is a faceless, unthinking algorithm whose only value is engagement. It's an outrage factory, and we are both the workers and the product. Now, Mark Twain was a brilliant skeptic, but he wasn't alone in his worries about truth and power. If we could assemble a ghostly roundtable of history's greatest thinkers to discuss our modern mess, the conversation would be fascinating, and frankly, a little terrifying. Imagine sitting Twain down with two other philosophical heavyweights, George Orwell and Socrates. After they get over the fact that they're all ghosts, they'd find an alarming amount of common ground. They each saw a different piece of the puzzle we're grappling with today, and their combined wisdom is more relevant than ever. George Orwell, the eternally pessimistic but depressingly accurate author of 1984, would take one look at our world and say, "I told you so." He wasn't just worried about lies, he was worried about a world where the very concept of objective truth becomes meaningless. He warned that if truth is malleable, if it can be whatever those in power say it is, then power becomes absolute. His nightmare was a society where language is so twisted that it loses its meaning, where war is peace and freedom is slavery. He would see how political leaders today can state a blatant falsehood, and when confronted with evidence, simply call the evidence fake news, effectively creating their own reality for their followers. Then you'd have Socrates, the ancient philosopher who annoyed everyone in Athens by constantly asking questions. He'd probably be the most frustrating one at the table, but also the most useful. His whole deal was that true wisdom begins with admitting you know nothing. He would be horrified by the sheer confidence with which people spout nonsense they just read on the internet 5 minutes ago. He'd walk through our digital public square, metaphorically speaking, and just start questioning everything. Why do you believe that? What is your source? Have you considered the opposite argument? Are you sure? His method, the Socratic method, is the ultimate antidote to passive information consumption. He'd urge us not to be vessels for information, but active interrogators of it. Twain would be the bridge between them, the folksy but razor-sharp observer of human nature. He'd listen to Orwell's dark prophecies and Socrates' call for intellectual rigor and nod knowingly. He'd add that the core problem is that people want to be fooled, especially if the lie is more entertaining or comforting than the truth. He understood the human element, the vanity, the gullibility, the desire for simple answers that makes all of this possible. The combined warning from this ghostly trio would be stark. When we stop valuing objective truth like Orwell feared, and stop questioning our own beliefs like Socrates urged, we become the gullible marks that Twain always knew we were. One of the most maddening aspects of misinformation is just how incredibly sticky it is. You can present someone with a mountain of evidence, a stack of peer-reviewed studies, and a signed affidavit from God himself debunking a false belief, and they will often just shrug and double down. It's like trying to remove superglue with a feather. This isn't because they are stupid or irrational, it's because once a piece of misinformation gets into our heads, it becomes entangled with something much deeper and more powerful than facts: our identity. This is a phenomenon that psychologists sometimes call the backfire effect. When we accept a belief, especially one that aligns with our social or political group, it stops being just a piece of data. It becomes part of who we are. It's a badge that signals our membership in a tribe. We are the people who believe this, and they are the people who don't. So when you challenge that belief, you're not just questioning a fact, you're questioning their identity. You're attacking their tribe. The natural human response to an attack is not to thoughtfully consider the attacker's point, but to raise the defenses and fight back. The very act of trying to correct them can paradoxically strengthen their conviction. Furthermore, false beliefs often provide a sense of comfort and order in a chaotic world. The idea that there's a simple explanation for complex problems or a single villain to blame for all our woes is deeply comforting. It gives us a sense of control and understanding. The truth, on the other hand, is often messy, complicated, and unsatisfying. It might involve randomness, systemic issues with no easy solution, or even our own complicity. Giving up a comforting lie for a difficult truth is a painful process. It's like trading a warm blanket for a cold, hard floor. Most people would rather stay warm, even if the blanket is full of holes. This is where the emotional component comes back into play. Misinformation isn't just sticky, it's emotionally resonant. It validates our fears, confirms our biases, and makes us feel smart for being in the know. When a belief is so deeply intertwined with our emotions and our sense of self, facts alone are powerless to dislodge it. Trying to argue with facts against a belief held for emotional reasons is like bringing a calculator to a knife fight. You're using the wrong tool. This is why it's so hard to change people's minds, and why the most pernicious lies are the ones that tell us exactly what we want to hear about ourselves and the world. So, here we are, adrift in a sea of information, with sharks of falsehood nibbling at our raft. It feels hopeless, but it isn't. If Mark Twain were here, after he finished his cigar and had a good laugh at our expense, he'd offer some timeless practical advice. His real message wasn't to give up and become an uninformed hermit. His warning was about the danger of being a passive consumer. The solution isn't to stop reading, it's to start reading like a detective. It's to cultivate a healthy, robust skepticism that would make the old man proud. This is Twain's survival guide for the modern maelstrom. First and foremost, think for yourself. This sounds simple, but it's honestly the hardest part. It means resisting the urge to outsource your thinking to your preferred news channel, your political party, or your social media feed. When you encounter a piece of information, especially one that makes you feel a strong emotion, pause. Ask the Socratic questions. Who is telling me this? Why are they telling me this? What do they have to gain? Who benefits if I believe this? Treat every headline as a sales pitch, because in the attention economy, it is. They are trying to sell you a feeling, and you should always be a skeptical customer. Second, embrace the 3 most powerful words in the pursuit of knowledge. I don't know. In a world that rewards loud, confident certainty, admitting ignorance is a revolutionary act. It is the beginning of wisdom. It's okay not to have an immediate, fully formed opinion on every complex issue. In fact, it's preferable. Having the humility to say, I haven't seen enough evidence to form a strong opinion on that yet, is a sign of intellectual strength, not weakness. It gives you the space to actually learn, rather than just defending a position you adopted 5 minutes ago. Be comfortable with uncertainty. Finally, Twain would tell us to maintain our sense of humor, especially about ourselves. We all get fooled sometimes. We all have biases. We are all susceptible to a good story. The ability to laugh at our own gullibility is a superpower. It keeps our egos in check and makes us more open to changing our minds when we realize we've been had. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be a little less wrong today than you were yesterday. So, read widely, question aggressively, admit ignorance freely, and never, ever trust a man who is too certain about anything. That's the kind of informed, skeptical citizen that Mark Twain would have raised a glass to.